so it's not such a pretty day today. Terrible wind, so pardon the quality of all this, but we decided to take a quick walk anyway in the area we stay, and we're in Pilrig. So Pilrig is a little bit northeast from the city centre towards Leith, and just before you hit Leith you hit Pilrig. So Pilrig has a park and it also has a cemetery. It's called the Rosebank Cemetery, and we're here right now. We don't know much about it, but it basically has what's called Gretna Memorial, and it is a place where over 200 men that died in the biggest railroad crash in the history of, is it Scotland or UK, died in 1915. So they died near Gretna. It's called Gretna Memorial, and it's supposed to be made of like a Celtic cross or something like that. So we're gonna have a quick look in the cemetery, see if we can find anything pretty or interesting, okay? So here behind me is like a little corner. I think these are the public toilets or maybe some maintenance buildings in the cemetery. Just as you enter, literally behind this wall is the main Pilrig Road. And this looks like a little residence area for someone perhaps homeless or perhaps someone who comes here to use drugs. But the presence of like a mat and a pillow maybe suggests someone was sleeping here. But we can definitely see some drug equipment. So it looks like there's some needles, there's some foil, which would indicate someone was using heroin here. And I would really like to address this. We had such a big reaction to this kind of phenomenon in the last video that I would like to say a few words about this later on, which we will put in the video, so please stay tuned. Okay, let's go. Shit, it's starting to rain for sure now. So as we're walking and looking here at all these different graves, all these different kind of, people from different walks of life, people that were buried in different periods of time, maybe 100 or 200 years ago even, and it kind of makes me wonder like what it is about people's minds that for thousands and thousands and thousands of years we all, regardless of race, of age, of beliefs, of religion, we all find this need to bury people in a place and raise some sort of a memorial for them, like a cross or a grave or a statue. And what is this concept? Like, what does it say about us? What does it represent? Why do we have to bury people that way? Why can't we just burn them and let them just evaporate into the universe and just keep them in our memory, in our heart? We need to have like a physical place where we believe we can go and see them or talk to them. I wonder where that kind of whole concept comes from. Is it comforting? More comforting than sending them off to the sea and that's where they are, and we don't have any physical place to visit them or to pay homage or tribute. Like the Vikings, for example, who used to just burn and send the bodies off into the sea to become one with the universe, and they didn't have a physical place to go visit these people. So I wonder why most cultures have like a physical place of burial, and it is considered unsettling if someone cannot be buried properly. We're approaching what I think may be the memorial now. So just trying to understand this catastrophe, obviously how it exactly happened. So these soldiers, this was the First World War going on, and there was a train traveling from Scotland, from up around Stirling area, going down to Liverpool, and they crashed head-on into another train that was left on the tracks. So I assume there was maybe nobody in that stationary train. So this train going to Liverpool, it crashed into the stationary train, and just a few, I'm just trying to read here, a minute later the Euston to Glasgow Express plowed into the wreckage. So the whole chain of events, the first train headed for Liverpool and the second one headed for Glasgow, plowed into the wreckage and killed over 220 people, out of which I believe about 216 were the soldiers that this memorial is here for. And 250 people heavily injured. Obviously this memorial is not just to commemorate the soldiers, but anybody who died in that wreckage, obviously. Whether you were a train staff, train conductor, you were kind of part of the whole story and creating the history of this beautiful country and the world, actually. And it's very interesting here. There's interesting stuff you can read about how Leith used to serve as a kind of military hospital area. There was a local infirmary that helped soldiers and all the wounded people, and some ships would dock in to kind of get more medical help. These kind of hospital ships came from all around the world, from Russia, from anywhere. So Leith was such a strategic area even back in the kind of 1920 or whatever, the First World War time period. The reason why on this memorial here you can find many quotes saying like, you know, there's no greater love in a man than to give their life for others, or the other one which was, you know, to the heroes who gave up their lives. You may think it was a railway disaster. How could people have given up their lives for someone? But obviously these people were taking part in the war. They were, you know, military guys, you know, they were soldiers. So that's why, because it was part of that kind of activity, that's why this memorial particularly says that. There's a bit of more information about the cemetery itself here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So 216 soldiers lay here. And there is also a bed in the Edinburgh hospital, I think in maybe the Royal Infirmary, I'm not too sure. There is a bed which is also dedicated to commemorate these soldiers. So we're just carrying on, and we noticed there on the first like kind of left-hand corner when we entered, there was like a little kind of part of the cemetery that is perhaps meant for Muslims, I don't know, but it was, all the graves were written up in Arabic without crosses and stuff like that, so it looks like it may be the kind of Muslim community here in Edinburgh, I don't know. That corner there, you know, it just shows you that it is something common, it is something that exists. People are in horrible circumstances sometimes, and you really cannot judge, because it may be you today, tomorrow, or in a week or in a month. It may be you sleeping in there. Don't ever look down on anybody, because you don't know what happened to them, and it's a really horrible thing to say you're any better than that or it'll never happen to you. But I will address that a bit later on. We are trying to spread some sort of awareness that these things do happen, and it's not as shocking as you may think, but people don't do it on purpose to hurt anyone. That's why they come out here, where, you know, they don't want to disturb anyone, they don't want to hurt anyone, but they are in the circumstances that they are. So the weather, like I said, is pretty horrible, so my eyes are watering and everything, but we've decided to kind of do something and come and have a look, and it really is worth it, guys. Like, you walk into somewhere random and you see all this beauty, like, you know, all these colors of like autumn and all the yellows and browns and greens, and it really is pretty here. So if you're ever in Pilrig or in Leith and you fancy a little wonder, it's worth coming around here. So as promised, after finding evidence of people sleeping rough in those cemeteries we visited, so in Calton Cemetery and in Pilrig Cemetery just now, we found evidence of people, quite possibly homeless people, sleeping here in these horrible conditions and using drugs in these horrible unhygienic conditions, putting their lives at risk. And, you know, I really truly believe that every good, you know, human being should show compassion to fellow human beings. Read more about it. Tonight, as you go to bed, there's about 1,000 people in Edinburgh struggling to find a place to sleep, perhaps with children, perhaps with health issues. And I just want to tell you, at least if you're not going to help, if you're not going to do anything for them, please be respectful. One thing I recommend, if you want to find out more on what you can do, many of you commented under my videos, said that it's horrible that those needles are out there, someone can get hurt, these people shouldn't have to do that or whatever. Well, go to streetwork.org.uk to find out what can be done to help these people and what they need the most. In many countries, you can already see in many cities, safe injection rooms where people can go and use drugs safely under supervision and discard their needles safely so that they don't have to trash the area. and access to other services as well. Now, Edinburgh is not too bad. They do have needle exchanges, they do distribute bins, they do have street work, people who come as a street outreach to people on the streets and help them facilitate all these different things. But there's still a lot to be desired, you know. First of all, these people should be given long-term support and compassion and medical care and things like that. And second of all, they should be given you know, just basic needs, things like hygienic articles, clean needles and things like that as well. This is just basic human needs. So please go to streetwork.org.uk to find out a little bit more about the work they do, what you can do, and also why these people are in this situation, because I can guarantee you it's not what they asked for and it's not their fault.